Edson, it is so great to have you on the Liberty Ventures podcast today because we've known each other for at least 15 years, I think, back from Students for Liberty days. So, for everyone who is just meeting you right now, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself and your background and what's taken you from when we met when you were in college to building up a for profit university in Brazil now, the Hayek Global College?
Alex, it's an honor to be here in your podcast with Liberty Ventures. I admire a lot the work that you're doing. And as you said, we go way back in college from Students for Liberty days. And it was in the early days of Students for Liberty, right? I was in Florida Gulf Coast University. So I was a tennis player, went to study in the United States, just to quickly go over my background. And it was through a class that I took for credit in college that I really started thinking more deeply about the ideas of liberty and how that would make the world a better place. I was very curious before, coming through that uh, uh, those ideas. I was very curious about why was it that the United States was so much more developed than Brazil. Why was it that we were able to get so much better jobs over there and all that? And learning about economics and learning about free markets and how the ideas of liberty helped the United States become what it became today was really how I started thinking more deeply and became an advocate for liberty. We started a Students for Liberty group there called Eagles for Liberty, which is still around today. Later, I went to some did some internships in think tanks in DC, such as Atlas Network. I worked with Diogo Costa at Ordem Livre. Got a master's in George Mason, and spent a little bit of time in Hungary working at KPMG in the consulting. Came back to Brazil to work for my family's business, which is also a for-profit university, which is more traditional. Was founded by my grandfather, 1987. One of the most traditional health universities here in Brasilia today. And now a couple of years ago during the pandemics, I started Hayek Global College, which is what I'm dedicating my whole time today.
So we're going to get to that in just a moment, but let's take a step back. What was it
Sure.
that you realized in college that made the United States different and more successful? Like you said the abstract, it was liberty, but really, what did you realize from the experience?
Yeah, that's an interesting. It was an interesting time in my life because before coming to United States, I had an image, and this is common for people in Brazil, right? That there was something more. Americans were smarter. No, they were more disciplined. They did
Mm.
better things. They were just better people in general. That's what we thought, right? And when I got to Florida, I started realizing that my colleagues were not that much smarter than I was when I was there. Right? There was just normal colleagues like in Brazil. There was great smart students. There were students that were not so great, and you start understanding that people are just quite the same as they were in Brazil, and probably all countries are like that, right? So I was still very curious. Like, where's all this money coming from? Is it some conspiracy that they're taking the money from other countries and bringing it here, or what is going on? And then I started taking the first economics classes and started understanding where the wealth comes from division of labor and all those concepts that we start learning in economics. And I took a class which was called Moral Foundations of Capitalism with Professor Hobbs,
Oh,
Professor Brad Hobbs, one of the great professors.
one of the greats. Brad, we're going to give you a
Uh,
shout out. I'm going to have to reach out
yeah,
to him. It's been too long.
shout out to Dr. Hobbs. He's a fantastic professor. And he had a class called Moral Foundations of Capitalism where we read a bunch of books. It was a hard class. We had to read a lot. One of the books that was in the class was the main book was Atlas Shrugged. So we had to read chapters of the Atlas Shrugged in each class. It was a huge book. We had to read a lot. In between, there was Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman, Bastiat. We also read Marx, Engels, some of the communist writers, and we would just discuss. And it was all about asking questions. Professor Hobbs never gave us the answers. He would just ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. And students would just be debating, and understanding more deeply about what causes of prosperity, uh, what it means to be a virtuous, create value for society, and many of the other values. And that really opened my mind, and I started understanding with a little bit of the philosophy that I was learning in that class, plus the economics exposure. I was understanding, wow, yeah, so United States is what it is because of the principles of the founding fathers back in the day, where they brought the checks and balances, the Constitution, and all the good institutions of property rights, and everything that came along with those principles. And the United States is what it is today, really because of those principles, right? Which is really ingrained in the American society, and like the shirt that you have, free speech, the First Amendment. Those are the types of things that make societies great. And that's why you see all the levels of prosperity that you see in the United States, which is not as much in Brazil.
So I love that because I think you're absolutely right. It's not that the United States or any country is particularly smarter than any other. The real difference in prosperity between countries is how free they are, because humans are smart. Humans can figure things out. Everyone is interested in making their lives and other people's lives better. And if you can align those, that creates prosperity. And the beauty of capitalism, especially, is that it gives people the freedom to try things out. So the smart people are able to go and try things that others aren't able to come up with and do. And if you have an autocratic or authoritarian society or restrictions on economic structures so that people aren't allowed to try things, well, even if you have really smart people, fewer shots on goal mean you're going to make fewer shots. It's as simple as that.
Exactly, exactly. And it's exactly what you said. And I was just comparing Brazil and United States, but even if you get like poor countries, the countries that are really poor in the sub-Saharan Africa, or other countries in Asia, wherever you are, the more you start connecting and understanding people from other places in the world, you start realizing that we're more similar than different. We're just as smart, we're just as virtuous. We have very, very similar values. We come from different backgrounds. Maybe we do things differently. We relate in a different way. Sometimes Brazilians give a kiss in the cheek, or others do shake hands. But in the end of the day, really we're very much similar to each other than we are different, with the same capabilities, right? And the environment where you're brought up is very influential in how successful or how rich you become in your professional life. And that's where institutions, property rights, the respect for voluntary exchanges, and really allowing the clash of ideas to happen creates a lot of value, right? As you're saying.
So I'm hearing a whole lot of what you're doing with the Hayek Global College in everything you're saying right now. That global perspective, the connections people have with each other, and the principles to guide this. But let's go back to you saying that you work for your family's university. That's also a private university started by your grandfather, and you decided to leave and start your own thing. Why? Why would you leave the comfort of this big established business that's in the same space that you're working in right now?
Yeah, I always admired entrepreneurship, and there was something in me that always wanted to do more, right? I always wanted to create new things. And I remember this particular moment when I was at the family's business. We were at a board meeting, and we were discussing the creation of a new product, a new course. And I wanted to create a new course, to create new things inside the company, but I was uh, I, the majority didn't like the idea. They wanted to still maintain. Oh, we have to stick with our core product here. Why don't we just do more of what we're doing? And then I thought to myself, well, my grandfather started a business from scratch in 1987. Why can't we simply create a new product in an already existing company with all these resources today? And I became uncomfortable with that thing of, and it's a common issue in most big companies, right? Most big companies have to stick with what their core business is, and it's hard to create a new innovative product. And that's when I thought, wow, I'm perhaps I should be in another place and making something new, making something that I really believe in, and it's a unique, innovative type of institution, higher education institution. That's when I decided to go for uh, a Hayek Global College. But uh, as I was telling you before, it's not always. It's very hard to get out of a position of comfort when an established job where you have your salary and you have all the structure, all the resources that you have in a big company, to simply leave and go do something new, right? And there was a moment of inspiration which just clicked. I was just having that idea. I want to leave, but I never really had the courage to do. And I was in Brasilia here, and I saw a lecture by Bruce Dickinson. He's the lead vocal of Iron Maiden, which is a famous heavy metal band. And he was telling about his own story of entrepreneurship when he had to leave Iron Maiden to do a solo career. And he said, he was quoting another author where he said something along the lines of, every growth is happens through a leap in the dark. So every growth is a leap in the dark. If you really want to grow, you have to go somewhere unknown, and you don't know where you're going. You don't know where you're going to get out of it, right? You never know. A new business is never really the way you planned out to be in the beginning. You go through many things, and that's where the leap in the dark is. You have to go to the place when they know, and it's scary, and you just have to have that leap of faith, and that's what I did.
I love both of those sources of inspiration for this, and you've made the leap and you're succeeding with it. HGC just continues to grow year after year. But explain the philosophy behind what you're trying to do with the Hayek Global College. What's the driver for this?
So, High Global College starts with the idea of a dream of a world without country borders. I, as I said previously, it starts with the idea with the that people are just the same everywhere else in the world, right? Um, it's the strongest idea of if you think about the ideas of liberty. If you really believe in liberty, you believe that the liberty of my neighbor here in Brasilia, which lives in the same apartment as I do, is just as important as the liberty of someone living in China that I have no idea who that person is, or someone in an Arab country, or someone in the middle of Ethiopia or Japan or whatever. We have it's all these people should be treated in the same concept of liberty as my fellow Brazilians are, or any other person in the world. And if we are to create a society where people have more tolerance with each other and more respect, we have to get them to know each other in a deeper way, right? And there's no better way to have people understand more about how their fellow citizens behave than have them in a classroom. In classroom, when you have to turn stuff in and we're with your colleagues and you have a deadline and you have to produce actual work, that's when you start understanding a lot better what your fellows are like, right? Networking in college is so important, not because you're meeting different people and interesting people, but also because you're meeting them, getting to know them really in a deeper way. Are they cheating in class? Are they actually turning the stuff in? Are they smart? Are they someone that I can rely on if I'm giving them some actual work? So when you do this type of work internationally, that's when you really start getting an understanding of um, a bigger respect for your fellow classmates and citizens from different countries, right? And what we're doing at Hayek is we're we're creating an environment where it's international, and we're bringing also practical methodology, so our students can do more significant work, which is closer to what their challenges are going to be in the job market. So it's these two things, plus we're bringing the values of liberty within the curriculum. Right, the same experience that I had in FGCU when I thought more deeply about the principles that create prosperous societies and um, brings really ethics to our lives. We're also bringing that inside the curriculum of the class.
So, as in, like, this is so on point and amazing. And on top of all this, it's a for-profit university, right? You're not running this as a
Yes.
nonprofit, which may surprise a lot of people. Why are you taking that approach?
So education it should be treated as a business like any other business. Just because it's like we generally think about education as something more sacred, that should be a nonprofit, just because there's um, we can actually see the value, right? There's a great positive externality with education, and some people might argue that it would make sense to subsidize education because of this um, positive externality. And if you really want to build something great, where in my case, I see that there's a lot of potential to do great things to create value to society for Hayek, and that's the biggest motivator for me. Right? It's not even making money is a motivator, but the biggest motivator is really creating value to society. And the best way to do that is if we have the incentives aligned. So we think about incentives usually, and we think about them in the third person, right? If we give an incentive to such and such person, that person is going to be able to do bigger and greater things because of that incentive. But we have also to think about it in first person. The best way to incentivize me and my fellow executives and all other people involved at Hayek is to create a for-profit business, which we can also make money as we are building up the program. And for-profit businesses tend to be much more efficient in how they manage their resources than nonprofit businesses are. So it creates a much more scalable and sustainable business in the long run if we can create it for profit. So that's the biggest idea, right? Is that even though we're very mission oriented, we have a purpose, and we believe that this is going to make the world a better place. We believe that having it for profit will be a fuel that will incentivize us to get into the right direction and get this institution going in the right direction faster and more efficiently.
Amazing. And so you've been at this for a few years. Tell us about one or two of the students or alumni that have come out of this. Like, what kind of impact is this actually making on people's lives?
Great. So just to give a perspective, we have already two cohorts that we've graduated in the MBA program, and we just started the college program, the 2-year college program right now. I can name two alumni that really stand out on the MBA program. One of the alumni is Monica Shomandroiu. She's a Romanian that did the program online while she was in Romania. She was a philosophy major, had a little background on business, and as she went through the program and graduated, she had the courage and uh, the will to start a new business, not in Romania but in United States. So she moved to United States, started a new business, and created a business where she sells massage chair first in Florida, and now she moved to Texas. So the MBA not only gave her the tools to do it, but also the courage and the inspiration that she needed to change her career completely from working as a public employee in Romania to start a new business in United States. And as we know, it's that leap of faith, right? You really have to have the grit and
Oh,
the
that's a
will
leap.
in you to do that type of thing. Another alumni I can tell you the story about, and it's we have several alumni that did great things, but just to name another one that has a really inspiring story is John Mustafa from South Sudan. So we had first, it's amazing how we could reach a student which is in South Sudan to join our program with other students from countries, other places in the world. We have students in Guatemala, Brazil, United States, France, Romania, etc. And we had a student in South Sudan, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. And his story is inspiring because he had to go through a lot just to go through the MBA. Just to cite an example, his city doesn't have running electricity or running water, or even paved roads. So he had to get his motorcycle on a dirt road to go to a hotel to rent the internet, get inside a laptop, and really the connection was very bad. Even after he went to the computer, the connection was very bad, and he still managed to go through the classes every single Saturday night through 18 months of the program to finish the program, and had a great success story of using that knowledge that he got to improve his nonprofit in South Sudan. And by the way, his nonprofits in South Sudan does a great job by promoting property rights for women in that country, because traditionally women are not allowed to own property in South Sudan. The law changed, and now he has a job of expanding the reach of the information of bringing the idea of property rights to women in South Sudan. So he's doing a fantastic job there, and greatly was enhanced his work through the MBA program.
Edson, this is amazing. I love what you're doing. I love the impact that you're having. So as we wrap up here, how can people learn about the Hayek Global College if they're thinking about going themselves? And how can other leaders, say in the United States or elsewhere, partner with you on this?
Sure. So now, in addition to the MBA program, we have the American College program, which is an undergraduate program where students spend 2 years studying here in Brazil in our campus. And they have an English curriculum in English, which is based on the American Associate's degree. They study 2 years and then transfer to finish at partner universities in the United States. We're constantly looking for new partner institutions in the United States. So if any university in the United States is interested in receiving our students on years 3 and 4, are certainly welcome to talk to us, and we'll be glad to talk about articulation agreements. And also other institutions, if you're interested, we have taken the COIL, which is Collaborative Online International Learning, to another level. COIL is a digital exchange program in which our students study with institutions in a different part of the world doing joint projects. So we're in a Zoom call like this, and the students are working together in different projects. We have a COIL project in each one of our classes. So every class we have a project with a student, with a group of students in a different institution somewhere in the world. And we're looking constantly for new institutions who want to do project with us. So we would love to partner with such institutions that would like to do a project with us. So if you want more information, our website is www.hayekcollege.com. We'll be glad to talk about any type of international partnership. And also, if anyone is listening to us right now, we are creating opportunities for our students who don't have the means to pay for their scholarship here in Brazil to also study in the United States. So if any of you want to donate to these students so that they can finish their studies. Remembering that this money is not going to a for-profit institution here; it's just going to help pay for the students. In a nonprofit in the United States are also welcome to help us create more opportunities for more students here.
Amazing. Again, love what you're doing, Edson. Congratulations. So excited to see what we can do to help you out.
Fantastic, Alex. It's an honor to be with you, and thank you so much for this opportunity on the podcast.
We're going to talk again soon. Cheers,
Thank
buddy.
you.